Latin, and I won't say it correctly, but it's non-laureus luctatios. It actually means not the prize, but the struggle, and kind of the idea of embracing not just the fight for what you're trying to finish, but embracing the actual fight itself, and the struggle is absolutely, certainly going to be a part of it. Dog, I ran 10 miles. I ran up a fucking mountain. What I have come to think of it as, this race is really designed to be on the razor edge of what a non-elite athlete is capable of doing. In this venue, embracing the fact that you can fail at this. You're doing something where there's a good chance that you're going to fail at it. You might succeed at it. Name is Charles Johnston. Stumbled across this beautiful place a few years ago. Felt like there needed to be something up here. I never ever had the urge to direct a race, but I just felt kind of a tug. This is the third year, and the second year on the more difficult route. I'm just gonna kind of do like pin number 29. Yeah, I need to grab that. Get a memory related.
Anything to make the race harder.
Yeah, I know. The tracker, we're gonna hold on to those tonight. Okay. 3, 4, 5 people register and not show. Just get them tomorrow. Every program you plug it into is a little bit different. A lot of them will do. We'll have some sampling error. They might only take the elevation every 1,000 feet. The best version that I have is 41 something, close to 42,000 feet of climbing for the 100 miler, which is something like 3.7 or 3.8 times up and down Everest from the south base camp. Just an obscene amount of climbing. There's really no place to rest on it, and unlike some mountains, they're just really rough mountains. So the trails in general tend to be pretty technical and challenging. You don't really ever get to relax at any point. The thing has just kind of become this monster that I feel like I'm just along for the ride.
My name is Avery Collins.
Nice to see you, brother. How's it going? Good.
I'm an ultra runner. I definitely enjoy running very far.
Course is definitely more complicated than some courses. That's the reason we'll put down about 1,000 plus markers. I feel like people deserve something that's really challenging. I grew up in that. I've got a box of participant trophies. And I don't know what the names are, soccer teams, the Wolverines, or like the Dynamites, or the something. It's a box that just takes up space in my garage. They're meaningless because you won't see it now. I had a lazy eye as a kid. I never had great hand-eye coordination because my vision was bad, so I sucked at soccer. I knew that I sucked at soccer, and those trophies were all meaningless to me. In my adult life, the things that have been meaningful to me, that have caused me to grow, have been the things that have kicked my butt, have been the things that were really, really challenging, and that caused me to reach into a place that I didn't know was there. What I love about a venue like this is you can come out here and push the envelope in kind of a sporting arena type thing. The stakes of this are pretty low. The stakes of this is that you don't go home with a buckle. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I mean, this is yeah. You guys all have serious guts or like mental issues. I'm not really sure. It's a combination of the two, but anyways, I'm gonna be around for a little bit, so to the extent anybody else thinks of anything, feel free to come grab me in the next 15, 20, 30 minutes.
Rob Koslick. I'm actually in the Navy full-time, and I really call, I guess, a running enthusiast. really enjoy getting out on the trails whenever I get the chance. When it came to picking Ouray or picking my first 100-miler, I always like a good challenge. I always wanted it to be kind of worthwhile. When I was kind of scrolling Ultra Sign Up, as I'm sure everybody does at lunchtime, Ouray popped up, and it was new. There wasn't a lot of people in there. The challenge seemed like something that it would make it really worthwhile, and I knew the scenery and the town would be awesome to explore. I was here in Phoenix, so not a lot of altitude to work with here, but you know, we do have some decent amount of climbing. The McDowell Mountain, for instance, offers, you know, you can capture 10 to 12 miles and about 3,600 feet of vert per loop. And so I would do, basically just trying to capture as much vert as I could. I knew going into Ouray, it was going to be tough on the legs, and I really wanted to get used to the vert. So I would just go up and down as many mountains around here as I could. And then I knew I wanted to get altitude. So I actually went out and camped at Ouray. Found a free site out there. We took my kiddos out there, and we went for 3 weeks before the race started, just so I could kind of get used to the altitude. And I put in some serious miles those 3 weeks right before the race, just to kind of get the volume in and get used to the altitude, and I think that helped a lot. My drive, I guess my engine is, I want to see what the bottom looks like, I guess. There's something to be said when you're out there and you really reach that moment of questioning everything. Like, you really reach that moment of, why? What am I doing here? How did this happen?
Training for a Ouray 100, you had to pound vert. That's all there is to it. A lot of climbing. It's most of the field's just fighting cutoffs the entire race. So if you can get high altitude training in, it's going to help tremendously. But it's not a complete must. I would highly suggest getting a lot of climbing in, though, which you can do on the East Coast as well. Just about anywhere in California. It's just, with a race that has 42,000 feet of vert, which is more than really any true 100 that I know of, that's your biggest battle. Quads are gonna hurt pretty much after mile 40 to 100. Calves and hammies are gonna hurt as well from climbing. It's brutal. And then, really night training would be great as well if you can get in a few long night runs after work, mainly just because that's gonna be helpful with sleep deprivation. So if you've been working all day long, and then go out and run, you're already going to be really tired. So it's almost like a simulation of the race itself after standing on your feet all day. I feel like there should be some nerves, especially before a race that is so big and greater than anything I have ever really attempted, especially at the 100-mile distance. It's good to have these things just hidden everywhere, so when you're halfway through the race and you're like, oh. But I knew what I was going into. I knew what was ahead of me completely. Like, I knew what 42,000 feet was more than likely going to feel like.
Yeah, the new ones are
not
20.
20. There's no way.
It's in between 17 and 20. You'd be surprised. This thing is huge once you fill it with water. That's what she said. The new ones are different.
I'm not sure she did say
Which is why the nerves weren't there. I was prepped and prepared.
I'm wearing gaiters.
Are you really?
They got the pads on the side, man. It's gonna be rocky anyway.
He's been riding bikes a while lately.
Well, Buddy gave me one yesterday, so.
They changed it up, and
Clay did?
it's a lot better now.
Yeah.
Alright. I think that's everything. Okay. I'll see you guys at the start line then, I imagine, and everywhere else. Oh, do you guys happen to have a permanent marker? If not, it's okay. I know they're gonna have one up there. They'll have one up there, and I'm probably the only person using a box instead of
A bag.
a bag. Yeah. All right. See y'all in a little bit. But as long as you're there by 1, that'd be safe.
Back on if you have a hydration pack kind of between your shoulders.
Let's see here, we got a couple minutes, but if you guys want to kind of mosey over here, go across a little footbridge here, and then you're gonna hook Oak Street. Hey everybody, thanks for coming out and trying this thing. Matt, your wife doesn't know, right, about this? Because she said she was gonna kill me if anything happened to you. And I think she's serious.
I think she knows much.
Cool. Well, without further ado, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My top speed, right?
Having a good crew for Ouray 100 is super important because of the simple fact that it's logistically, it's such a difficult race. You can't plan, especially with the way the weather was, you can't plan on what's going to happen. Say it starts raining, and yes, you were prepared for it to rain, and it rains through the night, and then the morning comes and the sun comes out, and you thought it was gonna stay cold. Now you've got nothing but, say, tights and a long sleeve and a jacket. It's helpful to have, especially the crew I had, it was probably 10 people.
See this? You see this sandwich? Peanut butter, jelly, banana, Nutella, honey, and M&Ms.
If you need something, more than likely they're already gonna have it, but I usually just toss them a duffel bag with everything I could imagine I could possibly need. And then it's a big morale booster when you see them coming into every aid station because you feel like you're held to you're very accountable.
Don't you feel that? My heart is crumbling. Can't you feel that? Oh yeah. My hands are shaking. Can't you feel that? I know you feel it. Bring the beat back.
Came back down the mountain, hit Camp Bird again. Same deal, just ate another quarter, threw in a couple salt pills. Everyone was happy, I was happy.
That was literally like 300 calories in one bite.
Okay. That's right, it was.
Yeah, where do I go now?
You go back this way.
Okay, down this road?
Down this road to the right.
Shut up.
Turn
Yeah, a little bit.
God, you're so sexy. Hey, go. Way to go, Avery.
You know, the only thing that truly went wrong was the mistaken turn, the bad turn that I took at mile 15.
Is there water at Richmond? Yeah. There is water at Richmond.
There's 2 aid station ladies there. They claimed that the flags had already been pulled. Someone pulled the flags on the course. However, there was where they were set up. There was a Y intersection there. I was supposed to go right. They sent me left.
So when you came through, there were only markings over on this side. There were no markings on this side, and we had no.
So I ran an extra 2.5 hours off course. That was definitely mentally very frustrating.
And the ladies were trying to push me left, and of course, because I've been camping there for a few weeks, I'd already been up to Imogene a couple of times just training. And I was like, no, I know we don't go left. And they had me second guessing myself. So, I mean, I pulled out my map even. I was like, no, I'm absolutely sure we have to go up Imogene.
So the second guy that comes through goes, that's wrong. He said, no, we got to go this way. And I'm going, you should follow the ribbons. And he says, no, that can't be right. We got to. So he insisted. He and another guy were going that way with no ribbon.
He said, I'll come back if we don't see a ribbon in 15, quarter of a mile or half a mile or whatever. And then he never came back.
And so they were like dead set on me going left, and I was like, no, I'm going right. You know, it's okay, it's all good. Don't worry about it. I'm just gonna go. I know for sure. And so I went up Chicago Tunnel, came back down, went up Imogene. The whole time I was going up Imogene because you do 2 up and backs, and so Chicago Tunnel is like a shorter one, and you come back down. I was like, man, Avery must be flying because I didn't see him coming back down Chicago. So I was like, all right, I'll see him coming down Imogene. And we got up to the shack on Imogene. It was freezing. Where did he go? Like I wasn't even processing to me. I was like, there's no way he DNF'd already.
And I finally ran into these hikers and looked at a map and realized I was supposed to go up Imogene Pass. I'd never been in the area, so I didn't know what Imogene Pass was and that I was in the wrong area. And once we took a look at the map, I realized it and I ran back down. I hadn't like put it all together yet that the ladies sent me the wrong way. It was one idea in my head. I thought, well, perhaps I took a wrong turn on the way up the pass. Sure enough, when I got back down, they had immediately apologized, and I just kind of told them that it's the way it goes. I still have a very long race ahead of me. It's a 100-mile race, and I'm at mile 15.
He came through, he had a big outburst, screamed at us, we sent him the wrong way. Then he calmed down, got a determined look in his face, and took off to catch the guy. So.
Yeah! Dog, I ran 10 miles. I ran up a fucking mountain.
All the way to Ironton?
Dude, I was like a mile from Ironton. I started doing circles. I didn't know where I was, and I saw these hikers. I'm like, shit. I was supposed to do an out and back. Those ladies sent me that way.
Yeah, I know.
Second place came down, and homie was like, yo, you sent that dude the wrong way. Whatever. Bet you I catch him now.
All right. Go, man.
Unfortunately, after being in first and taking that wrong turn, I came back down and was almost in dead last. But what was great about that perspective and racing like that, I've never raced starting at the end or even being in the mid pack. Like usually up front, so it was really cool to see everyone and get to talk to everyone. Everyone was cheering me on, and I cheered them on. That was just an experience I've never had, is to see everyone in the field. Whereas typically I only see a couple people in the field, and it's the guys that I'm directly battling with.
Tell you what. Good job, man. What do you need? I need everything. I need a chair because I want to change. Yeah. 1 second.
I had so many people fly across the country for that race, so quitting wasn't an option, and in my mind, really, not performing at my absolute best was not an option as well.
Take a shot of that. It's coffee.
Ultimately, it's just good to have many brains there, because if something goes wrong, or say I come into the aid station and I had total intentions of changing socks because they've been wet for the last 5 hours and I'm trying to avoid blisters. If I'm at miles 60, 70, 80, I could be completely out of it and forget. So having all those brains there and collectively thinking, oh, what might Avery need, such as socks, or he probably should put a new shirt on. Does he have a jacket going into the night? Just from that perspective, it's awesome to have that help there.
There's a really good saying that kept playing through my head, and it's not really an adventure until every fucking thing goes wrong.
But they're a big, big morale booster and can really make you feel better in some really low points of the race.
You got a lot of race left, so be patient. Good job, Avery.
I know you're feeling it deep inside, so am I. I know you're feeling it deep inside of your soul, and if you're not, just let me know. I'll go harder than I have ever fought. New flows, never been attempted before. Let's roll back when I was just little lad. My heart was never tap. Those bullies, they wanna jack me, but now fuck that. I'm pushed and teased, oh dear God. Is this the life you really made for me? Full of scrutiny, there were times I didn't wanna be. But now I'm here, through all of the bullshit I've been through, and I'm here, and I'm prepared, and I'll be damned if I let a motherfucker fuck up this shit for me, yeah. This has been in my heart right from the start. I see the light, I'm still in the dark.
game was on, because that was going to be the first time he saw me after Richmond aid station at mile 15, and he had found out I had taken the wrong way, which I'm sure that had to have been just like a huge mental gain for him. He knew I had these 2 massive climbs to do that he had already knocked out. So for him to see me so close to him already at mile 39, he knew that the game was on. He's gonna have to push it all the way to the end.
Sure enough, I saw Avery. Did not look happy. Did not look happy at all. And you know, in my mind, I was like, well, I guess he's done. Like, there's no way, like, you know, at that point, like, mentally, that's just gotta be horrible for you. And so I just kind of kept trucking. And I guess it didn't click that I was in first. I was just kind of still in this mode of like, I'm a noob, don't do anything stupid. Like, just kind of stick to the plan, you know, keep your pace, keep your heart rate under control. And then it kind of dawned on me when I got over Richmond Pass down into the parking lot of Red Mountain. My wife came up, she's like, you're in first. And I was like, what? And I was like, oh man, this is bad. This is bad. Like, this is not where I wanted to be for my first 100 miler.
When things go wrong throughout the race, you just got to realize that, and especially if it's early, that it's such a long race, and that's how hundreds are, and especially Ouray 100, that is a very long race. You've got all day to catch up to someone. If it's your first or second 100, you may not know how to roll with particular punches that come your way. Given this was my 5th or 6th, like, I get it. I know things are going to go wrong, and over time you just become mentally a lot tougher.
If I fall, I get back up and I'll take another step. If I fall, I get back up and I'll take another step. This has been in my heart.
To the Weehawken aid station at 55, and as I'm coming in, I look up and I see 3rd place in his headlamp going up the mountain, and stayed patient with this too. I fueled up real quick. I mentioned to everyone at the aid station, which Justin Ricks, who's Devin, one of my pacers and a good friend, his coach was working that aid station, so we started talking about who was going up and how everyone was looking. And apparently at the time, 3rd was not looking so good, so it was just, that was definitely a mental boost. First was at Weehawken heading out, so he had already done this 5 mile out and back, very, very steep. So I start heading up.
I did start racing a bit at that point. I started thinking like, well, I got to keep the, you know, because I knew Avery was coming still. You know, everybody was already chatting, saying, yeah, he's coming, he's full bore. And so I was like, well, I got to have at least a few miles on the guy. And so I was like, sure, you know. So I pushed hard up over the first pass of Hayden. And when I came back, that's when I saw Avery and the other guy there. And I was like, man, they're closer than I thought. And so, of course, I started pushing again. That's when I fell down Hayden a couple times. And I think that was a little bit more aggressive than I should have been coming back down there.
It was halfway up the climb. I saw 2nd come down. And then 3/4 of the way up the climb, 3rd came down. And I knew that I'm on this just a small 5 mile section, and I got both of these guys right here in front of me. So I just stayed really consistent, came down at a fairly reasonable speed. And everything was really, really wet, and you couldn't really see anything on the trail because your headlamp would beam down at it, and all you could see were shrubs covering this trail, and every rock that was underneath was totally slippery, and we're talking rocks this big. So if you catch your foot on it the wrong way, I mean, you were gonna roll an ankle immediately. And actually even my pacer behind me fell twice on that one section. So I was almost forced to move kind of slow, which may have been a good thing, since, you know, it made me save a little energy, because I'm sure had it been a more runnable situation, I probably would have gunned it a little bit harder down, knowing that both of these guys, I've got them right in my grasp. Get down to the Weehawken aid station. At this point, it's 60-61, and Justin informs me that third place has just dropped.
Huh?
I'm out.
You're out?
Yeah, my legs are not ready for this course. I needed about twice as much daily vert in my training.
So now I'm in third off of just, you know, I mean, just staying strong. I mean, the guy, I think perhaps we ran that first 55 miles so hard, I think it just had gotten the best of him. The prior aid station, they had told me that he said that he had just, mentally, he was very, very, very tired. He was ready to just go to bed at mile 50. Hardest part about running through the night in the San Juans is we're dipping in and out of really high elevations to kind of mild elevations, so 13,000 feet down to 9. The weather fluctuations are so significant. You get to the top of a pass or the top of a mountain and it's super, super cold. It's insanely windy, 55-mile-an-hour winds. So changing gear was the biggest pain. I felt fine coming out of Weehawken at 55 physically. Just the biggest trouble was, as you kept climbing, you'd have to take your pack off and get your jacket back out, or your hands would get cold and you put them on, and as soon as you start climbing really hard, you get hot and sweaty again, so you got to take them off. It's like this constant change of temperature really throughout your body, and it's difficult to perfect it. No matter what, you're always just going to be changing. So Cody and I leave Weehawken and really just start rocking and rolling. I like having friends and family at the race because I want them to experience partially experience what I experience. Ultimately, I just want my friends and family to see all the amazing places that ultra running can take you, and that running in general can take you. Going to Chile, the mountains in Colorado, Pennsylvania, California, New Mexico, Kentucky, Georgia, North Carolina. There's so many amazing places, really even just inside the United States, and I have yet to see, seriously, 5%. I mean, it's amazing, and I feel I just want everyone to be a part of such a momentous event and occasion.
See you at the park, brother.
Yeah. Y'all are gonna be there.
Not even.
Yeah. Not bad. I'll see how it is.
Why didn't you turn your car on? Turn the heat on.
Yes. All right, dude. Keep going.
Good
Good. All right, guys. Good
You're
job.
awesome.
Get it. Woo. Good job, guys. 409. 409. You've been tearing it up already. I appreciate it.
He's an hour 10 back from the leader right
now.
now.
That's not a lot. Hour 10.
He's picked up another
like
30 almost.
Well, and the thing is like the harder the course is, I think the more he's gonna gain.
Avery always picks these ones too that take like 3 fucking days. You know, like, god damn it, dude. Do it like 24-hour one.
So leaving Crystal Lake, I was leaving Crystal Lake. It was very early in the morning, probably 3 or 4 a.m. Cody and I have quite a climb ahead of us. Didn't get up it necessarily fast, just kind of inch by inch, plucked away at it. And as we got to the top of the ridge line on this section, leaving Crystal Lake and heading into Fallon Park, so heading into mile 74, you get up on this ridge line that you had just previously ran across, but it was pitch black, so you had no idea what you were on. It was very windy. I knew we were on a ridge line, and we got on top of there as the sun was coming up and everything was blue. You saw all the outlines of the mountains, the silhouettes, and it was so amazing. I mean, that very particular moment when there was just enough sun to see all these silhouettes and see that the town was 3,000 feet down below us, it was so amazing. I mean, that's something I will probably never forget. Rejuvenate you and bring so much life back into you after spending hours and hours staring at a little dot of a headlamp on the trail. It's just such a powerful thing, and anyone who's ran 100 miles and have to go through the night, and some people had to go through the night twice, they know that the sun it's gonna bring new life to you. I wouldn't say I necessarily knew I was going to catch the leader. I knew there was a good chance I could catch the leader. If I just mentally hung in there, I made the right decisions. There was really not a lot of room for error. Had I fell back on calories, I may have not caught him. When I knew I was going to get him, I was going down into Crystal Lake, which was right around 60. Because that was an out and back section. I saw he was coming back up. I knew I only probably had a mile and a half down to that aid station. He wasn't climbing very fast, and I just knew if I just fueled properly there that I was going to be catching him at that next aid station for sure. And just I ran real strong all the way back down to Fallon Park. Rob came into Fallon Park first.
Yeah, it's like,
going into Fallon Park there and getting ready to go up Twin Peaks, I felt the gas kind of going low and I was getting nervous. It happened every aid station. I'd hit a hard moment and I kind of come in with this uncertainty, but I don't know if it was my wife, just kind of the refreshment of seeing my wife there, and she always kind of got me mentally back on, like, she made me stop thinking about whatever I was thinking about. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, I do need to get off my butt. And before you know it, I was back on the trail.
Yo, like, this so bad. They hurt. Probably one.
Woo!
Insane. You can get it.
And it wasn't 30 minutes after I rolled in.
yes, please. How long is it gonna take?
And I wasn't in any kind of rush by any means. That was kind of the best part. I was in such a strong mental place that I knew there was no reason to rush out of there. I knew I was going to catch him.
Don't make it. Oh, fuck it. Yeah, just make it. I'm gonna catch him. How long? How many miles till I'm back here?
You're gonna go to a different aid station.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Back here is when you drop me back off.
Do you know where? Do you know how to?
We go out. We take a ride at Queens.
So you know. That's all I need.
So I got in there, changed shorts, got into something a little bit lighter, dry, and just made sure that I was going to feel really good. I mean, I took some good time at that aid station, probably 7 minutes. I know it's pretty exact, but that's probably what it was. And then rolled out.
It's gonna be a climb first, right? I mean, that's pretty much how they all work. Thank you. Oh, I think I already said that. No,
Hopefully I'm good. So you're gonna get my balls.
Oh, I see the
Thank you. And just kept moving on.
It was crazy. He's another species, I swear. That's crazy.
So right before Silver Shield aid station, around mile 84, I had passed him coming up this climb, and there was no real aggression or anger between the two of us. It actually was it was like a peaceful passing when I passed him. It was mutual. I had been gaining on him all race long, and he knew. It's like ultimately, I think Rob knew it was coming. It was just a matter of when. Where I passed him, it's not like I could have done it very fast. This section of the course, no joke, was we hit grades in between 60 and 72%. So yeah, at one point we were hand over head climbing. I mean, you can't go up that grade at full tilt running speed. So we're just essentially power hiking up it. So there's going to be some kind of exchange in that series of events when I'm passing him, and it was awesome. It was cool. He was very respectful. We actually even stopped for a second. I was like, "Look, dude, you've really pushed me this whole race, and you didn't." He essentially didn't give up. That was what was awesome, and it made for such an event. I wouldn't change a thing. I like what occurred. I like that he made me fight all the way into the very end. So I passed him and turned around to come back down the mountain, and it was full tilt from there. It was game on. At the time I was running with my girlfriend Sabrina, and I mean, I remember moments where we were running so hard that I heard her behind me just like huffing and puffing, and I was almost concerned that I was going to drop her. But she's fast too, so there was no issue there. She said, I don't think I've ever even ran with you that fast in a training run. I recall maybe hiking for 90 seconds. I mean, we ran that whole way back, because once I passed him, I just knew, put the pedal to the metal. I mean, it is time to make him feel like there is, without a doubt, I'm going to win this race, and there's no way he's going to catch me.
Good job, buddy.
Good job.
Ginger ale, and then let's just go. Ginger ale right here, buddy.
Right there, ready to go.
Thank you. Yep.
Can I get this, Phil?
Alright, let's rock and roll. The deal?
Ready.
Did you get any rest last night?
F9.
It was on. 84 at Silver Shield. I'm ready to finish this bad boy.
That was, I'd say, actually my worst moment. The sun had broken for the first time in the race, there, so it was actually warming up a bit. And, that was right around the 80-mile mark, so we were in the 80s at that point. If there was a moment where I was as close to DNF as I could, that was the moment where I was like, if I go back into Felon right now, I'm done.
What else?
Yeah.
You want to sit?
Maybe for a sec, not long. Actually, just probably get something to eat and then go to the next section. Is 4 miles. So
Okay.
let's see what they got the grub on over here.
Okay.
That's like, that was the mantra in my head. This is like left foot, right foot. That grade at Twin Peaks. There's no way to recreationally hike that. I was like, this is crazy. Like, there's no person that goes out there for enjoyment.
Well, you don't have to do it again. There's that.
That was gnarly.
You're looking strong though.
Yeah, man, good job.
Don't give up on chasing this guy down. That's all I say.
Oh, Avery? That guy. No, he's got like wings on his shoes or something.
You never know. It's still only mile 8.
Yeah. I might get the point. This is like my first one.
I'll get it. Is your first 100?
Yeah. So if I could just finish, like, and not be a complete like
First
atomic
100?
bomb,
Wow.
yeah,
What?
I'd be kind of content. Like I'm leaning towards atomic bomb right now. Like my legs are slowly but surely getting to a point where it's like painful to go down, and you know. So
Most people were that way at like mile 27. So you're doing fine. You're killing it, man.
So
that's insane.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you guys for an awesome
Rocking it. You're doing awesome.
brunch.
You bet. You bet.
Let's do this! No way, hold on. This is what mile? He's already, I think.
91. 91 point.
I told you.
Yeah, I'm out of here, dude. I gotta go.
You have another section to do.
What? Wait, we're going back
Someone
out?
has to do 6.7 before you do 10. I don't know which one of you are doing it, but you have a 6.7 to do.
What are you talking about?
Ouray mine.
At the time, I didn't know. I thought it was later than 84 because we actually came into Fallon Park, and I was under the impression at Fallon Park I was at mile 92, and I only had that one last massive 4,500 foot climb to go. And then we were quickly reminded we had one more climb before the big climb.
Avery, I'm still with you.
Yeah.
Right, where are we going?
You go back out the same way.
Back out the same way?
But you're going to end up going over there. I don't know.
I need gels in.
No.
I don't care what's there.
Get over there? The mileage isn't adding up for me right
So
now.
you have to go out this way. Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You go out this way, and then you're going to go.
He's gonna ask you a question.
Hey, how do I get to the Ouray Hot Springs Trail? Because we gotta go up Ouray Mine, right? Or Ouray Mine. And then do I just take that one trail all the way up and then do a hole punch?
Like go parking
Evan's
lot?
going to go left, yeah, right out the main entrance.
Okay.
It's going to be on the other side.
They're not going to come back as fast as we just came back.
I was going to eat a quesadilla, but it's not a big deal.
I sounded like a horse.
I was going to take that.
That was rough. Going up the climb, it started off pretty slow. I started to pick up momentum, and as soon as momentum came around, so did a bunch of clouds, started raining again, and unfortunately, going up that climb, I was in just a pair of short shorts, no shirt. I thought the sun was out. It was so nice, but sure enough, San Juan Mountains, they are relentless and don't give you a break. And it started pouring. Luckily, we were supplied with a little kit that we had to carry in our pack the whole race, and it had a poncho in it. So as soon as I got real cold, because we were above 11,000 feet, it was cold. Threw that on, made a world of difference, and trucked out the last 500 feet of climbing up to the old mine. Turned around, came back down, and this is when the first contact was made after I had passed Rob. Rob looked good. I wouldn't say that he looked good enough to the point where he was going to catch me. I was very comfortable, and even at that point, third place was right behind Rob. So it was more or less, it was a race for who was going to take second. I don't think it was much of a race for who was going to catch me at this point.
He doesn't want to stop. He wants a quesadilla. Just passing. He's okay on the downhill.
Oh God, my watch! I gotta get this data.
Got down to the aid station and I talked to everybody, talked to the crew, and just asked, hey, you know, when he got here, did he hang out? Did he leave? What was going on?
Oh, that one got me. It all caught up. It all caught up? Yeah.
I tried to get in and out of there as fast as possible, but most of my aid stations, they were never like extremely quick. I made sure that things got done. I got what I needed and ate properly.
Good job, babe.
Here, if you literally just set all my shit right in front of me, I'll take care of it. Sorry if I sound like an asshole, I'm starting to get tired.
That was actually easy.
You ready? Yeah, are you ready?
I think so.
Are you ready for them? I haven't been ready.
I need to get my miles in for the day, bro.
They're gonna be so fast.
I'm gonna be taking pictures the whole time.
At this point, it's time to pick up Dev, which is, knowing I'm gonna pick up Dev, I knew this was in the bag because he's not gonna let me give up on the climb or the descent.
This will be the first time I've ever paced him in the daytime. That's always, I always pace at night, so it's always like in a shitstorm too.
Yeah, hopefully it's clear when you guys get this.
Yeah, I know, that'd be great for me.
It's very appropriately.
There's no way that anyone's gonna catch me because he's just not gonna let it happen. So I was very, very confident. However, this is the biggest climb in the entire race, and it's the last one at mile 92 into 102, or around 112 for my race. And we take off out of the aid station.
Ready, buddy? Oh.
And this is crazy. We get just like a half mile up the climb and I start getting super hot, so I want to rip everything off again that I just threw on because it was raining and now the sun's out again. And I go to stuff everything into my pack. I'm trying to do it as fast as possible because all I can think about is just finishing this race and not letting anyone catch me. And I yank on the zipper and the zipper rips clean off. And I'm just thinking, I've got all this stuff that has to be in my pack because one, it's you get disqualified if you don't have particular items in your pack, and I just don't want this stuff falling out. So we end up just bungeeing it and rigging it all around, throw it back on, and keep on trucking. It was by no means a fast climb. It was basically a power hike all the way up because it's 4,500 feet of climbing in 5.5 miles, which is a lot. I mean, just hiking that fresh is difficult, let alone doing it after 92 miles. So it was just step by step, and you know, as we got higher and higher, I just kept thinking, this has got to be the end. This has got to be the end. And the way you're going around these mountains, it's just like false summit after false summit. And we finally get to what I think is the last essential pitch of the climb. And sure enough, it wasn't. We were actually already pretty much there. And you stop at this amazing ridge line, and it's just 360 view of massive mountains, just 13ers, 14ers all around you. Because the weather was so shaky the entire race, there's clouds everywhere, really dark clouds, fast moving clouds. It's amazing how fast these clouds will come in and out of a valley in just a matter of legitimately 5 minutes. One massive cloud will come in and just rain for a few minutes and then leave immediately. Hole punched my bid, turned around, and actually got a picture at the top. When I got to the top, it was over. I knew it was over. I had been making all of my ground the whole race on downhill, and I knew this was going to be no different. So we took a picture and, you know, just gave each other high fives. Like, yeah, dude, this is awesome. And started trucking back down, and it was about 1.7, 1.8, because Devin had his watch on. I made sure I knew exactly the distance from me to the next guy. So about 1.8 miles down, I saw him, which essentially means I've got a 4-mile lead. And not late in the race, it means an hour, and it turned out to be well over an hour lead. And I took it down nice and easy down the mountain. Some of the grades were so steep, I actually had to use trekking poles to stop my body weight from going straight over. My quads were just completely shot. I definitely knew at this point I was trashed when I asked Devin how many miles out, because I usually don't do that, and he just kept saying don't worry about it, and I said let me know when we get to 2 miles out, and he never told me when we got to 2 miles out. He completely avoided that as I kept asking him, and he waited until we were 1 mile out. And I go, do you ever just think about when you're a mile away from the finish that it's only 4 laps around a track? Although this 4 laps around a track involves bouldering down a nasty, gnarly mountain. And he's like, yeah, I do the same thing, man. And it was, when I knew I had 4 laps, it was all over, and it was just a breeze into the finish line.
I haven't done this in 36 hours.
Can I get anything for you?
A beer.
Who wants a beer? Who wants a beer?
So ultimately I picked Ouray 100 as my A race for the summer because really multiple reasons. First off, for me, I believe that ultra running is doing something that's on the brink of impossible. And everyone has different forms and versions and ideas of what ultra running is, and many will just say that's a distance over 26 miles. But for me, the 100 is the quintessential distance. It's the distance that it's going to make you, as I've always said, go to hell and back a few times. You're going to see the lowest of lows and the highest of highs, and neither one of them are going to last. In a race like Ouray 100, a race that's legitimately on the brink of impossible, a race that only 7% of people will complete. I mean, when you start the race, you're gonna look around you and almost every person surrounding you will not be at the finish line. They're gonna DNF and go home, and you're not gonna see these people probably ever again. That's what ultra running is how far can you truly push your body and not quit and test it, not just physically but mentally as well. That's why I picked this race. I also picked this race because every summer I pick a race that if I don't get into Hard Rock 100, I want to do a race that is going to be comparable, if not harder. So last summer it was Colorado 200. The summer prior it was Fat Dog 120. And I've done other 100s, but the A race is always something that when I pick it and I sign up, there's almost like a concern that I may not finish this thing. I'm gonna sign up for this, and I'm gonna ask my sponsors to help me cover lodging and transportation and all these things, and I'm gonna run such a high risk of not finishing this race because it is so difficult, and in a matter of 100 miles, anything can go wrong. Every step you take, you run the risk of rolling your ankle, hitting your toe, and falling over and smashing your face into the ground. I mean, anything can happen. Hell, I mean, people fall off of cliffs and die in 100-milers. It's facing obstacles that just are seemingly impossible to the rest of the world. And even at times when I look at these races like the Colorado 200, they're seemingly impossible to me, but I know that there's no such thing. I mean, if they're gonna hold it there, it's possible. Anything's possible. And that's why I ran this race.
I'm not running this next year. That was hard. I'll come out and crew or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go against the grain of this, oh, well, you DNF'd, you're a loser, you didn't do something right. This is, I think that people grow a lot more from the challenges than from the wins. Everybody gets a win and just pockets it and moves right on down the road. But if you can do something that's right on that razor edge of uncertainty, if you can find something right there, I think that's where the magic is. I think that's where the opportunity for growth is. It's challenges that make us grow. One of the things that I did not expect is to really be influenced by the people that have pulled this thing off. It blew me away last year how the 900-mile finishers and the 150-mile finisher, how calm they were. I mean, they're doing something that's physical, that hurts, it's challenging, and they all were, it was like almost zen-like. They just, nothing flustered them, and it challenged what I thought about strength. I thought of strength as kind of a brute force thing, but I learned that there's a type of strength, a calm strength, that is, for some applications, is really the most powerful, certainly out here.
I very much think that, we get one shot at life, and so why wonder? Why let somebody else tell you about something when you have an opportunity to go see those things? Everybody had something to manage, something to deal with, I'm sure, in that course, and it wasn't just one. It's not like, cool, if I get past this moment, I'm good. Like, every summit was its own challenge. Every change in the weather was its own challenge, and so that's what made Ouray kind of special, is that you just in a course of one bout, one 35-hour bout, you face a series of challenges that one of them themselves could be enough to kind of break a person if they weren't kind of ready for it, or if they didn't want it enough.
I think if I'm smart, I can do races like this really for the next decade competitively. I don't think I've peaked by any means yet, because I'm still learning. I'm still figuring out what works well for me. People always ask me, my nutrition's like, what do I eat, and how do I train? It changes every race. Everything changes so frequently, which tells me that I'm still learning, because once I've figured out what works the best and what is very specific and what will help me continue to run essentially perfect races, that's when I think I'll be close to that peak, because that's then a formula I can use for a long time. So competitively, I think I can do this for another 10 years as long as I'm smart and not over race, which is something that I've really just started doing this year, and I've started to respect my body more, and I understand what it's going to take to have some longevity. But ultra running is something I love so much. I want to do this. I want to do this forever.
That thing is so cool.
Wait till we get on the boots. Yeah. NASCAR. Take a left turn. Hold it down.
There's a slide up there?
It's like, shh, don't tell anyone.